Hello everyone and good evening. Welcome to this talk. It's called 50-50, a more equal film industry. My name is Abbie and I will be moderating this conversation between the filmmakers of two very interesting collectives. From Belgium we have WANDA Collective. Joining me here is Zaïde Bil, and joining us with Zoom is Maryam Hedayat. And then, of course, we also have Rawiyat Collective, we have Lina, Soualem, and Myriam Hage, I hope I pronounced it right, joining us from Zoom. So, first, let me tell you that Lina Soualem also has a film here at the MOOOV Festival, a documentary called Leur Algérie, which is part of the program, so everyone should check this film out as well. Both in Flanders and internationally, the film industry remains a very male-dominated world. Right now, for the MOOOV Film Festival, 40% of the films are directed by women, which is a pretty good number. However, there are still, a lot of issues going on. There are also opposing voices. So WANDA Collective addresses the inequality in the sector, and Rawiyat does the same, but then for the MENA region. The MENA region means the Middle East and North Africa. In this conversation, we'll ask ourselves what the situation is today in Flanders and MENA, and maybe internationally. Which obstacles do female filmmakers encounter today? And how can the situation for female filmmakers, be improved? Before we dive into it, because I also have a lot of numbers, let's do a very quick round. Maybe tell me a bit about yourself. Let's start with Zaïde Bil, just a quick introduction. Are you a filmmaker? What do you do?
Yeah, sure. My name is Zaïde Bil and I was born in the Netherlands. My mother is from Suriname, and I was studying journalism in the Netherlands, and then I studied filmmaking in Rits in Brussels, and I'm a documentary filmmaker now.
All right, thank you, welcome.
Thank you.
Maybe we can go over to Maryam Hedayat.
Yes, hello. My name is Maryam. I'm living in Brussels, originally from Iran. And I'm a filmmaker. I've made so far some video installations and short films and documentaries. And right now I'm working on my first feature film.
Very exciting, thank you. Lina and Myriam, please introduce yourselves.
Yeah. So I'll start. I'm Lina Soualem. Thank you for mentioning my film. I'm very excited to have it screened at MOOOV this year. So I'm a filmmaker and I'm based in Paris from Algerian and Palestinian parents. And Rawiyat is a young collective that is 1 year old, and Maryam is part of it also.
So I'm Myriam Hage. I'm from Lebanon. Now I'm doing my second documentary film, and I'm working as well on fiction film, and I'm a cinema professor. And together with Lina, we are part of this collective of 9 filmmakers, Rawiyat.
All right, thank you. Very excited to have you with us as well. Like I said, I collected some numbers, and let me start with a very good one. Just the Hollywood numbers, like the biggest industry, the biggest film industry. In 2020, a whopping 96% of the films were made by male directors, so only 4 female directors. So that is a very disturbing figure, if you ask me. But let's go for numbers in Flanders. There's been a research that's done by Vicky van Bellingen, and she studied what was the gender parity in various jobs in the film industry. Let's just talk about directing. Between 2006 and 2018, the average number is 16% women. So 16% women and 84% male directors. When we go and check the numbers for the bachelors, so the ones in film school, in Flanders, it's actually pretty good. It's 41% for professional bachelors, academic bachelors. So 41% is actually rather good. But then something happens, something interesting happens. There's a huge drop between that number, the one who actually graduates, which is 37% if you have a master's. That number drops to, let's see, 21% for first applications. So something happens between graduating from film school and applying for your first feature film. So those are also things that I want to discuss. Let me see if I still have... Yeah. So let's say you have studied film and you're graduating. The trajectory with numbers is, so for bachelors 41%, masters 37%, so there's a drop there. Making a first short film 36%, and then applying for your first film is like we said 21, what was it, or 26%, something like that. And then actual female women working in the film industry is 22%. So let's talk about this. Why is this happening? But maybe it's interesting also to start talking about, because there's a reason why you started the collectives. Let's start with WANDA Collective. Why did you start the collective? What were the things that you were noticing? And maybe in short, what actions have you already taken?
Yeah, I think this is a good question for Maryam.
Yes. Well, I think we started noticing before there was WANDA, there was just a lot of female directors who were unhappy because they saw that there weren't a lot of feature films being made by their female colleagues. And so around, it was I think December 2019, there was a big event organized by Unie van de Regisseurs in Bil-Chaide, and a lot of female directors started getting in contact with each other and talking about this inequality in the film industry through an open letter. So it was just very basic emailing, WhatsApping each other, giving each other contact, so very grassroots. And then we wrote an open letter to the sector talking about this inequality. We presented this in the Bil-Chaide in December. And then after that, actually, it just became a movement. We started really, the letter had a very positive side effect, and it was, to my feeling, it was taken very seriously by our colleagues and by people who are working in the industry, not by policymakers and people in power, because that takes a long time. Mm-hmm. But that gave us the momentum to start writing more letters, sending them out, going and talking to the Unie of Regisseurs and really talking about this inequality. And then it was also some members of WANDA sent this study that you were talking about by Vicky van Bellingen. And so the moment that we saw these figures, we just became even more desperate to do something about it, because before we knew there was an inequality, but we didn't know it was only 16% versus 84% males. And when you see that it's also, it's only, for example, the costume designers are mostly females, yes, but the directors and the DOPs and, all the, let's say, the big positions on a set are by males. And then we started talking about experiences by women on sets during their juries when they go to ask for funding. And we saw so many experiences by female makers that were actually the same, and they were not very positive experiences. And also we saw that there wasn't really a study that was funded by an institution, by FAF, the Flemish Film Fund. We just thought, well, this is not correct. You have to scientifically research these things. You have to talk about these inequalities. You have to talk about why are there so many women graduating and not so many women making films. And no one was talking about this. So this was really the start of WANDA, to really try to bring these questions to the surface and to make other people think about it and to link actions to it.
Okay. And Lina or Myriam, how did the Rawiyat come about? And maybe also add a bit, because the MENA region is a very huge region. So how do you focus and get your ideas on the same page? How do you do that?
Okay, sorry. So in fact, it started, Sisters in Film started with a workshop in the beginning, 2 years ago, initiated by UNESCO and Hisham Falah, a programmer, festival programmer. And it started with the idea of putting together women filmmakers who are doing their second film. And why the second film? Because most of them don't do their second film. So they stop at their first. And so from this workshop, we had like 2 workshops in Tunis and in Morocco, and we came out with the idea of creating a collective, because we felt the need to unite, in fact, to create a very safe space for women to be able to talk about these kind of problems, of salaries, of inequalities, and to help also other women filmmakers who are doing their first film to continue. Yeah. Because most of us, for example, I teach, but we have another woman filmmaker with us who is also a professor, and we've noticed what you just mentioned about these women that like we have in class, more than 80% sometimes of the class is women, is made of women,
Great.
Young women, and then they will drop after the first film or not even do their first film. So this was something like the collective is based on sharing experiences and helping each other and creating a safe environment.
Yes, and now it's of course during COVID, it's an online collective.
Yeah, but it's pushing us, in fact, to continue brainstorming together and to know each other more, because it's the collective is still young, a young collective, yes. And also to be able to understand the needs and like what our other women filmmakers needs to create steps and actions.
Okay, Lina, you wanted to add something?
Yes, no, we actually, but maybe we can talk about this later, about our objectives also, because as you said, because of COVID, we haven't been able to meet and properly think together what we want to do, but we're still keeping on exchanging. And so I think this concept of having a space where we can talk about the challenges that we face, the difficulties that we experience, and we try also to reach out to other collectives in the region and also in other parts of the world, so that we can exchange with other collectives representing women working in cinema, so we can also understand what kind of challenges they have, what are the specificity of our challenges. And we also know that we did all a first film, so we already are privileged compared to other women filmmakers that are in more isolated situations. So we also try to think of what are the tools that we can develop to help these women, and think of like what are the tools that we would have liked to have when we were doing our first film. And we quickly understood that one of the main things that helped us was to find along the way support from other more experienced people working in the industry that supported us. And we still are thinking of some matters that are not yet tackled in the industry, such as the well-being, the psychological process you go through while making your film, and trying to build some workshops or programs around these matters. But maybe we can talk more in detail about that.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Zaïde, maybe you can tell me a little bit about what obstacles are you facing as a female filmmaker, maybe as a female filmmaker of color, because that's a very important intersection as well, of course.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, actually, I wasn't aware of the problem for a long time. I just felt by myself like I just work hard and I'll reach my goals. But lately I got interviewed by a student who was doing a research about the film schools in Belgium. And I was really shocked, actually, because for me the conclusion was everything helps when you have role models. And in our film school, we only had one female really good coach, only one. And we have a great documentary section at Ritz. But there were 12 lecturers and just one female lecturer. And I think many students and maybe also in the professional world are not aware of the problem that the representative of female are not. There's no equality at all, but you're accepting this.
Okay.
It's unconscious.
Really?
It's really strange.
Okay.
So this was this is a problem.
Because you, when you graduated, did you apply for a first feature?
Well, I was very lucky to win a wild card with my graduation film.
Okay.
But without that, it would have been more difficult, of course. And I did a lot of internships.
Yeah.
And this helped me to get on the right place. And now I'm part of a documentary series about inspiring Belgian women, which is like an eye-opener as a whole, because of the research and the writing and the whole process.
Yeah.
We're working on this for 1.5 years now, and we have a team with male and female, which works very, very good.
Okay.
And we have big discussions, which are very necessary. But so this was a big eye-opener for me, and it gave me a lot of chances. But the first thing I think is being aware of what's actually happening, because for me it was also very late that I was aware of it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Equal representation. We talked about it briefly. For me, it's also about representation in boards and juries and committees. Is that something that the collectives are also working on, trying to get equal representation in the decision-making places? Maybe.
Well, for WANDA, it's definitely on our list. So right now we're organizing, we're trying to come together online once a month to really put our goals together. And on those goals, one of the main goals is a collaboration with the Flemish Audiovisual Fund, but also the producers, unions, the union of the directors, etc., to really talk about this representation in all levels. Of course, I think it's not going to be easy because it's not something that changes overnight. But just the fact that we keep talking about it, and maybe that will influence a bit the decision-making process in the future years, I think that already is important. But what I think is also very important is that we keep repeating that it's not just about 50-50, it's about the right women in the right places. Because I always say you can have a 50-50 jury, but if the 50% women have the same kind of patriarchal thinking as the males, then you're not going to go any further. So this, let's say, what we always talk about when it comes to this implicit bias against female writers, storytellers, filmmakers, this is something that is present, I think, in everyone who's not very, let's say, woke to the idea of this bias. So we need to have women who are also, and men, who are also very informed about this. And so, yes, definitely, I think bringing this to their attention, and also maybe even organizing workshops is also on our list, or on our, let's say, wish list.
Yeah.
Organizing workshops for people in these power positions talk about this bias, this inequality.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we tend, well, when I say we, I mean the industry tends to look at men's potential, male filmmakers, their potential, but women are often perceived as a risk. Women always have to prove how much experience they have. You see that in all kinds of jobs. Has anyone ever come across a situation where you were put in this position where you had to prove, you know, I have this experience and I did this internship and I was working there for that person? Did you ever come across, you know, like the obstacle where you had to prove yourself twice as hard as men do? Who wants to answer? Maybe Lina or Myriam.
No, we'll complete each other. No, I think that we are all going through this, like unconsciously sometimes also. Sometimes I see my editor, who is now 65 years old, proving to people all the time that she is able, she will be able to do the job, and then telling them to pay her later. It's okay if you pay me at the end of the job. And this is something unconsciously that we all do, and I do also when I sign a contract. I'm like, it's okay, you can pay me when I finish the film. Okay. So why do we do this? And men don't do this, you know? Yeah. We do this unconsciously because we were brought up like this. Mm-hmm. And this is something. The other thing is going to, because if we take the numbers of women filmmakers working in the Middle East, for example, or in North Africa as well, we will see that women they have this tendency to go towards documentaries more than fiction.
Yes.
And this is something else, you know. This is because the budget is smaller, so they are not very anxious of doing a mistake and having to deal with a very big budget and then being, so they can even do it for free and with their camera and with their friends and without being paid. So, but how do we deal with this? You know, I think that this is something from school we have to start. Treating people differently.
Yeah, and as you said, it's present in every field of work. You know, you never dare talk about money or put it on the table. Also, when you're working in cinema and you know you're supposed to be an artist and think only about your art, but then you also have to to live and it's very hard to live off your work. And I think that is also why some female directors end up, you know, not doing other films because they start working in something else and get caught up also in the reality of their lives. And I think it's a question of auto-censorship, but it comes from also what was brought up on us in society. So I think that's why communication and exchange between women and even with men or with other people is very important so that we can identify this, because as Myriam said, it's very, very interiorized and we're not really conscious of it. And when we know it, we can't really prove it, because that's also the thing, is we talk numbers. In Middle East and North Africa, numbers are not so clear. You know, there wasn't a big survey conducted in the whole area, and each country has its specificities. So sometimes you would think, oh yes, there are many women working in cinema in the Arab world, but what positions do they have? What salaries do they have? Do they have jobs on the side? Like, all of these things are not really put forward. And that is one thing that we would like to do, is to conduct a survey that is going beyond data, actually, so that we don't only look at numbers, but look at all the economic, social factors that evolve around these numbers. Okay. So there's a big work that is still to be done.
Okay, but let's jump to equal pay. Let's talk money. How do you, as female filmmakers, make money? I mean, do you depend on film funds? Are you in a writer's room? Do you have a completely different job on the side to pay the bills? Zaïde, maybe you can start.
Well, yeah, this is for like your first question about being a woman of color. For me, it's more difficult to get money for the work I do, because it's really hard for me somehow to value myself worth it, to get paid. I studied 9 years, and then I worked in cafes to survive. I have a huge debt in the Netherlands for studying. I combined 3 jobs at the same time, and I did 3 internships unpaid. It's really hard for me to accept, okay, I'm worth money. That's my biggest challenge ever.
Okay, and so being part of a collective, is that something where you find, like, you get strength from to organize, to know your rights, to learn how to negotiate for money?
Most definitely, because I would totally accept it in a way, like, okay, I'm gonna combine all these things together and I will find a little money there, and okay, I can survive in a way. But being part of a collective and having the same conversation about the same topics, it feels a relief. Like, it feels like it's possible to change this.
Yeah. How is it for Maryam, for instance? How do you make money as a filmmaker?
Well, I remember after film school, I started doing a lot of freelance work, mostly for theater companies and artistic companies. But of course, they don't have so much budget. And I was working on my own projects part-time, but I wasn't really asking for funds, because for me at that time, it wasn't very transparent how I could get it. And by the time I did apply for funds, I was rejected. So I clashed with the reality of not being able to provide for yourself as an artist if you want to make your own installations, unless you're working other jobs. So I just kept working part-time and then developing my own projects part-time, mostly by my own funding. I got some funding here and there from theater companies, but not big amounts of money. And so usually I was always combining my projects, but this means that you're actually working and you're not saving any money. You're putting all your money in your own projects because you love it and you want to make films, make installations, share that with an audience. But after a few years, it was very not only tiring, but also I was broke. So then I was like, okay, now I have to get another stable job and try to combine that with my filmmaking and with my need to tell stories. And so now I'm very happy that I'm a city curator now for Argos, which is a center for audiovisual arts. And so now I can combine my love for cinema with working in a film institute. But it still means that I'm dependent on a job to be able to ask for funds now through the film fund, and hopefully I will get it, and then I can make my film. But it's just very hard to find a decent funding to develop yourself, to make even small projects. And there is not a lot of funding, I find, to give artists a chance to grow and to cultivate their art.
Yeah, exactly. And Lina and or Myriam, is negotiating about money, especially when you're starting out, is that something that that is easy? Because for me, I'm a screenwriter as well, it was a very daunting task to start negotiating with a producer about, this is the amount of money that I want to have for this project. So how was that for you?
It's not easy at all. Because, first of all, when it's your first film, you don't really know how much, you can... because also you're yourself looking for your own voice and your own value, if I can say that in this way. So, you don't dare ask until you prove. And I think it's part of what we were saying before. And that's why I think being in a collective also helps, not specifically having legal advice, but at least having advice of other directors and filmmakers that have experience on how much can you get, how much can you negotiate, how do you negotiate, do you get legal advice, do you get a lawyer, but that's expensive, are there institutions or associations that can help with that. So at least to put all the options on the table so that when you negotiate, you know your rights, you know the possibilities, because usually you don't really know what are the other options, and you just think, I'm already so lucky to be there with someone negotiating that I have to.
And have you ever asked like male colleagues how much they made to see what numbers go around or what percentages go around?
I've never dared, I think, ask.
We should do that more.
Yeah. Ask.
But in terms of gender parity, going for 50% in the film industry, who can change that? We've heard, there's something going on at film schools. There's film funders, maybe also producers who take jobs, who take filmmakers on. Also, did I say film funds? But yeah, festivals, for instance. Are quotas inevitable? Is it something that we need to talk about seriously? Is that the way to go? I don't know who wants to answer.
I can give my opinion about this, because we are in the process of launching something like this with the Sisters in Film, like initiating something like this, and the question was brought to the table whether we push film funds to create a fund for women or not. Mm-hmm. Because if you create a fund for women, you will be putting women in competition between each other. Mm-hmm. So this is something that we don't want. We don't like. But on the other hand, I think that it's important also to push women to do more films, because filmmaking is a muscle. Like, it's a muscle. You need to work on it all the time, like dance, like when you dance, like when you do sports. So men are being able to do more films, women not. Mm-hmm. So how do we help them to do more films and to keep on working on this muscle, between brackets? I think it's by giving them more money. So, and I'm myself a reader in a cinema commission for those who are doing the third or fourth film, and I see that there are the numbers are really ridiculous. Women are most of the time co-directing with men, in fact. And when they are alone, most of the time the films are not on the same level as the films of men. But why? It's because they are not doing a lot. They are doing five jobs along with being a filmmaker. Yeah. So it's not, there is no justice here. We cannot compare. In fact, we are comparing what is not comparable.
Yes.
So this is why I think that a film fund is one of is an area where we can work on.
Okay. Lina, do you have any ideas about quotas?
It's a tricky question for me also, because, of course, it's a way to get above, beyond, it's a first step to go beyond, because it's not the ideal thing. Because then, the problem is if you install quotas, then, the critical voices will say, oh, so they were selected because they were women, and we took their films because they were women. So you get trapped also in a vicious circle where you are still stigmatized, they're pointed out or labeled. And so, but at the same time, it's necessary, and it's common to many other situations when you're a minority and in such a certain countries. So I think it's still something that we should think and deconstruct, and not see it as a fixed, rigid thing that would be installed, but as something that will evolve. But I think in some cases, it's necessary when you see that things are not really evolving naturally.
But
positive discrimination.
Maybe it could work.
Positive action, maybe.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Maybe it could work like with the climate goals. There's like a certain time frame for the moment where it should be finished. Mm-hmm. Maybe this could help, like the quota for that moment. We should reach that amount. Yeah,
but I'm thinking, for instance, a festival. A festival could do this, but maybe a film fund could do this as well. Like that you promise that 50% of the ones that you're going to give money to or program are going to be women, but they're going to be, of course, the good films. I mean, there's nothing, nobody says that female filmmakers make bad films necessary. So that's, I think it's a very crazy idea. And I think, wouldn't it be a start to have like this head start to push the numbers in order to have the mindset changed so that, you know, really ridiculous, but people could say, oh, it's really not a bad filmmaker after all. You know, you have to change the mindset in order to change the policy, I think. I'm a big fan of quotas, that's why I'm saying this.
Yeah,
but Maryam, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I'm also a fan of quotas, and I think the excuse that a lot of, let's say, people in power hide against or hide behind is quality. And I always say you can't have, when there's so much quality among female filmmakers, then if you apply quotas, then the quality will rise. It's not that, oh, there's 5 filmmakers, so if we have to select, you know, let's say 10 women filmmakers, then there's only 5 good ones, we will have 5 bad ones. No, there's actually hundreds of very good filmmakers, hundreds of females. So if you have to select 10, then there will be 10 very good filmmakers that will rise to the surface. So I feel that that's always an excuse. And also I feel like for those who are afraid of hard quotas, like, okay, for example, 2022, 50% of applications have to be women. There's also an easier way to go into that direction. And that's by, for example, the film funds could say, okay, we're going to organize a few projects. For example, screenwriting workshops only for women, or maybe a short film competition only for women. And this way, you actually provide for a new landscape where women are seeing themselves being, you know, asked, invited over to collaborate. And then they will go on to maybe apply for a first big feature film in that film fund.
Because isn't that also a form of creating the safe space? Because the Swedish Film Institute has released a survey that they did, and the reasons, because they saw the same numbers, a lot of female filmmakers graduating, but then not applying at the film fund. And then a few of the things that they came across as reasons why they didn't apply for that first film is, for example, unsafe working conditions. We know Me Too is running rampant in the film industry in various levels. And so unsafe working conditions actually lead to silence. Nobody talks about it. So people are less inclined to apply for making a film. Also, deprofessionalization. So a lot of the times the energy goes to addressing violations in the working area instead of really being able to focus like more male filmmakers can on creating a film. And also, in terms of people of color, black people and people of color, the lack of knowledge. They become, because they also just want to make films, but they become diversity experts, which they don't want. So how about creating safe spaces, as we call them, you know, writing labs, how to learn how to pitch, you know, workshops, various workshops or labs where you can, you know, become a bit more, how do you call it? Zelfverzekerd. Confident to apply for the first film. Isn't that something that could work?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'd love to hear what Myriam and Lina think about it. But for me personally, I think that safe space, even spaces like this where you can talk about this, and hopefully women filmmakers, women students hearing this think, oh yeah, okay, I have the same experience, and maybe I should apply for funds. Maybe I should share my experiences. I think are very good in the process.
Myriam or Lina, who want to address this short
Yeah, that's also why, even though we cannot meet all together yet because of the pandemic, we keep on sharing, and I think it's very important so that we keep on sharing tools and experiences and knowledge, and we then can, you know, bring this knowledge out of the collective, and each of us share it in our own circles. So it's a way to extend also what we share in safe spaces, and get it out to other people that maybe don't have access to these spaces. And I think it's the main thing is to keep on communicating, to keep on talking about these subjects, to keep on questioning. Also, you know, the languages that we use when we talk about films, the languages that funds use and expect from us, like to be able also to change the way that the narrative is imposed, you know. So there are many things that we can do, and I think sharing in safe space is one thing, and also when we do panels like that, maybe at a point we do it between each other, and then we can extend it and have people from funds, have people from festivals, so that the conversation is not always also between each other, because we all kind of agree with each other and know about what's going on. It's a first step, I think, as quotas, you know, like to be able to strengthen ourselves while sharing, and then once we feel we are ready to you know, tackle it with people that maybe don't agree or would have a different vision, it's maybe the way to follow.
Myriam, I'm gonna come back to you to talk about more about the Rawiyat and the coming actions. But Zaïde, would you apply for something like an all-female writing lab, or for people of color? Would you do something like that? Would you apply for it?
Yeah, like in our process of writing the documentary series together with men, this was, for me, this was very necessary. Like, we can't do this a mission alone. We have to work together, and a new society with more female roles in it will have to go together with men. So yeah, I would love to have the conversation with other women, but I think we have to include men. And what I think for the huge drop for asking for film funds, we also shouldn't underestimate like the family planning and being a mother.
Yes, that's actually...
or becoming a mother.
Maybe we'll do that first, because that's actually a very important matter. I don't know if anyone is a parent here. I am. Okay, so I'll talk about my... No, I have a 1-year-old, and it coincides with my writing career. So I feel how hard it is to navigate the two. Because it's something that I want. I want both of it. I want my darling daughter to have my attention, but I also want my scripts to have my attention. So that is something that is, taking time to write means less working, but also less time spent with my child. So, you know, these are, I don't have the solutions, but these are conversations that what we should be having as well, because
exactly.
Men are parents too, and yet they make their films. So what's happening there?
Yeah, this is exactly what I mean. Like in this process, this is, I think, one of the main reasons that there's such a big gap between the roles that females are in the audiovisual sector. And for myself, I don't dare to have a family. No,
really,
not at all.
Okay, so you really have to choose between a career or, that's a tough decision. Is that something that you're thinking about as well? I see you nodding yes, Myriam.
Yeah, I'm 37 today, and I always think about this. And for me now, my career not started, but now I'm at the I'm starting to feel the results of all these years of work. So I feel that there is something an injustice somewhere, a little bit, because the career of a woman starts a little bit early, but at the same time, at one point she won't be able to have children as well. So how do we do with this? You know?
Yeah.
How do we do with the fact that we are not being pushed to do films earlier, or this career is starting very at a later age, because we were struggling to make money first and to make a living and to do films. We are all here in this room, all of us. I think, like I'm hearing this. We are doing 5 jobs, you know.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
with this, having children, so it's a big question. Yeah, I don't have a solution. I'm still trying to understand.
Yeah.
But I think that this is something that pushes a lot of women to abandon cinema, to go out of the industry.
I think so as well. Yeah. Okay, that's a very important conversation to have still. Before we wrap it up, Lina, you said in the beginning that you also wanted to talk about actions that you are taking as well.
Yes, we are still, as we couldn't physically meet and properly work, we're still shaping, our identity, but we have some objectives that we want to develop as soon as we can get together and work on them. And I talked about well-being, which is a subject that came up a lot during our discussions, because some of us work mainly in documentaries, others in fictions, but because most of us work in the Arab region, even if based in Europe from some of us, because we are also including diaspora in our collective, but we work on difficult subjects and difficult conditions, social and political, as war and refugee matters and colonization. And so there's a lot of trauma in the process of directing that some of the filmmakers that are in the collective are still, carrying on their shoulders and haven't been able really to process it, and it's never really taken into account in the industry nor talked about. So we thought of organizing workshops about that, and maybe think of how to bring this matter in the industry, because I think there's a gap between, the process of creating that is all about emotions, human emotions, and art is about, transmitting emotions, and cinema is about transmitting emotions. And then when we come to the industry and it's time to promote your film, we don't talk about emotions anymore. There's a big gap, if you do a film about war and colonization or silence or anything, and then when you actually promote it, you have just to be efficient. So I think there's sometimes for some directors, it's something that's why it can take many years to do another film, because also it takes a lot of you. So this is one of the topics we'd like to develop. And we also want to develop this idea of having a survey that is going beyond data. So trying to collect experiences of women working in cinema in the region, in the Arab region and the diaspora. And did I forget anything? Or I mean, that are
beyond that.
The main two objectives for now. And then the idea of like, now we're thinking, shall we go towards lobbying for a film fund for women or not? Like, it's still in discussions, because everything we've said, it's still unclear for now if it's something that we want to push to or not.
Okay. Well, we don't have a lot of time anymore, so I'm going to wrap it up. I'm gonna keep some things in mind. So we need to have numbers on why women who graduate don't apply for the first film. So we have to talk about that. We have to put pressure on film funds, do lobby work, festivals as well. And I think one important thing as well is to, as collectives as well, talk to each other, exchange experiences maybe, organize safe spaces, but also do hard work, writing application dossiers or something like that. And hopefully step by step, we get to that gender parity very soon. Inshallah. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you also for watching. Maybe we'll see you somewhere else. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.